What's going on, everyone? A Fearless Football Forecast here. And today we are going to be talking about one of the most exciting names in football, especially for fantasy football, redraft, and for Dynasty. We're going to be talking about both those outlooks today. We are talking about the Colts selection, Anthony Richardson. If you can't tell, I am repping my Florida Gator jersey. I was a student there, and I got to watch Richardson play live many times. And that's the thing. A lot of people talk badly about his passing, but they don't realize that that was the worst Florida receiver core of the last decade. And Richardson still made things happen. He still won some ranked games, and, he just balled out. He's one of the most athletic quarterback prospects ever, if not the most. His relative athletic score actually ranks first of the 916 quarterbacks tested back to 1987, which is ridiculous. He accounted for 26 touchdowns last year in Florida. And like I said, one of the worst years in recent memory as a Gator fan. A lot of people think that he's just brute force and speed, but his tape really shows that he's got a true understanding of how to work out of the pocket, in the pocket, and possesses the ability to understand a collapsing pocket.
Yeah, I mean, you said the biggest thing, his athleticism, a lot of rushing upside. But I don't think that it's just his running ability that's really going to make him a good fantasy asset. First off, to stay into his talent, no one can deny he's got a huge arm. I think that matters not only for the deep ball, but I think when you have that strong of an arm, you can fit it into tight windows against tough coverage. I personally am a big Michael Pittman fan. I think he's a true number one receiver, and I think that they have decent auxiliary pieces. Among those auxiliary pieces is one of the best running backs in the entire NFL, Jonathan Taylor, who's going to make it hard for defenses to focus in. Who you're going to they're going to be loading the box essentially. So I think that's going to help open things up for Richardson a bit. One of my biggest things is my personal confidence in Shane Steichen, the new head coach. He's going to be calling the plays, and obviously he's going to be one-on-one with Richardson, putting in the time trying to develop him. He has worked. He obviously had success last year with the Eagles, but it's not just the fact that he called plays for an extremely successful offense. He's worked with two amazing young quarterbacks. Herbert, who, he's a little bit mobile, but he's more of just pure arm talent, which Richardson has. And then Hurts, who has a good arm, good enough arm, but the thing that makes him special is his running ability. I think the fact that he's worked well with both of those quarterback prototypes, and Richardson has a little bit of both in him, I think that Shane Steichen is going to bring out the best of Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, Richardson's upside is crazy. And to get back to the fantasy of things, I mean, if he's a starter this whole season, he has to be a lock for a top 12 fantasy quarterback. And right now, his ADP is around 17 in redraft leagues. And that's just insane. I mean, you did mention Michael Pittman, great outside wide receiver. Like you said, a true number one. I also think that the biggest beneficiary of Richardson this year, and he's going to take a giant step forward as probably the new wide receiver too, is actually Alec Pierce. I think that Pierce's speed combined with Richardson's deep ball is just going to be great. I'm targeting him as a deep sleeper in a lot of leagues this year because he's very similar to Ricky Pearsall, who ended up being the number one receiver for Florida last year with Anthony Richardson. And how do you feel about him for Dynasty? Because I think he's going a little bit later than he should in Dynasty startups and even in rookie drafts. I mean, there's no reason why this guy shouldn't be a top 3 pick. I personally would take him over any of the wide receivers in a rookie startup draft this year. But, I would probably have it go Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Richardson would have to be there, especially because of the fact that Njigba went to the Seahawks.
Yeah, so I would have Njigba over him, but I would take him number 4. I think I love him for Dynasty. I think that he has the running capabilities. I think that he is going to be very good for fantasy for years to come. And really, me personally, I would have him as a top 5, probably right at 5, but still in that top 5 for Dynasty in general moving forward. So if I'm doing a startup, I would certainly be targeting him.
Yeah, I think I would have him right at 5, either 5 or 6. But with the rushing ability, you have to put him up. You have to put him there. I mean, the Colts are just going to continue to add weapons throughout the next couple of years. Like you mentioned, Jonathan Taylor, they're going to probably run some read options, and Richardson's going to have a lot of touchdowns. Even this year, I could see him being a top 10 fantasy quarterback, if not higher. I mean, all the upside in the world. I think that a lot of people are really down on him, just overall in the league. And going into the draft, I think a lot of people didn't think he should have been drafted that high, but he's going to be a true game changer.
Yeah, well, the thing with fantasy football is you don't want to get second place. You don't care about anything if you're not first or last. You know what I mean? And I think that Richardson is one of those players that really embodies that because, could he have a tough rookie year? Of course. I don't think he will because of the rushing production. But if you look at all the quarterbacks in the NFL and you look at their peak fantasy season, his ceiling is as high as pretty much everyone else's.
I agree 100%. And comment below who you guys want us to break down for fantasy next. We just uploaded a video for Rachaad White that is in the description below. And make sure to check out our podcast, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. We'll see y'all later. Peace.